Today, we're diving into natural light versus studio lighting in product photography. Some photographers swear by only using natural light. Others say studio or artificial lighting is the only way to go. But which one is actually better? Can we achieve that same natural light look with a studio light? Well, check out photo A and photo B right here. One was taken with natural light and the other with studio lighting. Take your guesses because at the end, I'll reveal which is which. My name is Chris Pieta and I run a product photography company and teach creative business online. This is the ultimate guide to natural light versus artificial or studio lighting. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one to use, when to use it, and I'll even give you some of my favorite gear recommendations that I use with all of my client shoots. I'm breaking down the myths of artificial lighting and pulling back the curtain of how we shoot in a six-figure photography business. When I first started doing photography 6 years ago, I ignored lighting. I thought all that mattered was an awesome composition and my camera gear. Yeah, I know, I was a terrible photographer, but I quickly learned. I practiced every single day, consumed YouTube video after YouTube video, and I got better really fast. I learned about the importance of lighting, and that really changed the course of my photography journey. I learned everything there was to know about lighting. I learned about lighting diffusion, how soft light create all these really nice soft shadows behind my subjects. When I was taking portraits, soft light would really highlight the model's face and it would show their features off in a beautiful way. And at the same time, I learned about harsh light. Harsh light would have these really rigid shadows and bring out textures. So when I was shooting sunrises, all I would see is harsh light. And this brought out some really unique elements of the scene. But lighting is so much more than just harsh light versus soft light. There's different angles of light too. Now, at this time, I was only shooting outside in natural light. So depending on the time of day, angle of the light was different. Early in the morning, the sun was low in the sky. And this gave all the photos I was taking these long shadows. And it really showed off some nice textures when I was shooting. A sandy beach or a cityscape would look completely different in the morning. As the sun rose throughout the day, the angle of light changed and so did the scene through my viewfinder. Whether the sun was low in the sky during sunrise, at 45 degrees during mid-morning, or directly overhead at noon, the photos I took would look completely different. And I haven't even talked about color temperature yet. Bear with me for just a bit here. I promise we'll get into that studio lighting in just a second. We've all heard about golden hour and how photographers love to shoot during this time. During sunrise and sunset, photos that we take look a lot warmer. They have these orange and yellow tones that make everything look super pretty. Now, if we take the same exact photo at noon with the same settings, it's gonna look a bit more bluish. As you can tell, there's a lot of different factors in lighting. Now, how do we take everything I've just talked about, figure out if natural light or studio light is better to use? Well, at this point in my story, it's 2019 and I just started my photography business. I decided to learn all about product photography. This was the business I wanted to start. I actually had never used studio lighting before this, so not only was I learning all about studio lighting, I also had to learn how to run a business. Now, this video is not going to be about the business side of things. If you want to learn how to get your first 5 paying clients, how to charge thousands, and how to build a $10,000 a month photography business, I have a free workshop that will walk you through all of that. Check that out in the description below. It's absolutely free and over 2,000 students have already gone through that training. Click the link in the description to learn more. Now back to lighting. When I was starting that product photography business, I had the option to use natural light or studio lighting. Which one did I choose at the start? Let's walk through all the pros and cons of each, which one is right for you, and my top gear recommendations for whichever one you choose. Remember those 2 photos I showed at the start? Well, let's have another look at those. I promise you I'll reveal which is which very soon. Let's talk about natural light first. Pros and cons. Right off the bat, natural light is friendly on your wallet. We all have access to the sun. We're all on an equal playing field here. You can start using natural light in your own product photography right now with no extra gear, which is great. Natural light is also extremely easy to use. There is no setup required. You don't need extra stands, sandbags, or any light. All you need is a room with a window. You've probably heard of the saying, beggars can't be choosers, and unfortunately with natural light, that rings true. We have no control over natural light. We can't control the sun. We can't control the weather. If you're shooting photos using natural light on a cloudy day versus a sunny day, photos are going to look completely different. Even as you're shooting photos throughout the day, the photos are going to look way different. What if you have to take 5 white background shots for a client? Let's say you start photographing a line of products at 10 a.m. The sun is going to be a little lower in the sky. You've got 5 different products to go through here, and that takes time. As you're shooting, the light is actually going to look different on each product shot because the sun is moving in the sky. Clouds might be coming in and you can't control it. This is terrible for a client shoot. Client is paying for professional results, and if we send them these photos, they're not going to be happy. While we can't control the angle of light, we can control the amount of diffusion a little bit here. If we get ourselves one of these 5-in-1 diffusers, this will do a lot to make the light more uniform. You can just put this in your window and it'll turn that harsh light into soft diffused light. Now, you're still going to struggle with the white balance a bit, and it will take some time in the edit to make that right. Now for the biggest downside, and yes, I know this one is obvious, but you can't take photos in the evening. You can't take photos when there's no sun. And sure, you can plan your shoots to take place during the day, but here's something that happens to most product photographers. We don't just magically have a full-time photography business overnight. Often we work our 9 to 5s during the day, and when we get home from work and have to shoot product photos, the sun is no longer in the sky and we can't get the work done. Obviously, this is not good. So how do we fix this? Studio lighting. So to quickly sum up natural lighting, natural light is cheap, we can all use it, but it's unpredictable. Let's shift gears and talk about artificial or studio lighting. Now, a big thing I hear from photographers who are hesitant about artificial light is that they won't be able to recreate that same look as natural light. I'm going to teach you how to recreate that beautiful natural light look at the end of this video. You can actually use studio lighting to accomplish this. What are the pros of using studio lights? Well, number one, you get complete control of the lighting. You get to say how bright it is. You get to set the angle to exactly what you need for the photo shoot. What you say goes. And this is a big unlock. You can shoot any time of the day. You've got no time constraint. Remember that 5-photo example we mentioned earlier? Well, with studio lighting, every single photo is going to be consistent. Each photo will have the exact same shadow on the product, the white balance will be the same, and the intensity of the light will be equal. This means the editing process for you will be super easy, and the photos you deliver to the client will actually be professional and consistent. Another big reason to use studio light is that these lights get super bright, way brighter than natural light. Why does that matter? Well, if we think back to our exposure triangle, bright light lets us shoot at a lower ISO, so that means less noise. It allows us to shoot at a higher f-stop, which means more of the frame will be in focus. And most importantly for me, it allows me to shoot at a higher shutter speed. This means I can take action photos. So whether that's pouring coffee into a mug, throwing pistachios through the air, I'm able to freeze that motion because of the light I'm using allows me to have such high shutter speeds. If you're using natural light, you just won't be able to take action shots like this. So why doesn't everyone shoot with studio lights? Well, they cost money. To get a decent level setup, you'll spend about $500 or so to get started. The good news is you can stick to this gear for a very long time. Now, if you can't afford the $500 right now, I actually say to stick to natural light until you save up for it. Sure, there are cheaper lights out there, but they're gonna give you bad results and you'll just get frustrated. I actually went ahead and put together a list in the description for a budget light and a more premium light kit. Check those out down below. It's everything you need to get started. They're lights I've actually used and tested, and I trust them for my business and for any photography I do. Now, what are these lights I'm talking about? Well, there are two main categories, continuous and flash. Continuous lights are always on, flashes activate for a split second. Both are good, but I actually recommend starting with continuous light because it's way easier to learn how to use it. I have whole videos dedicated to the differences between these two lights. Go ahead, check those out on my page after this video is over. Once we've got our light, we need something to mount it on. We need some sort of light stand. I recommend getting a C-stand because those are the most sturdy stands you can buy, and they're gonna last you forever. Okay, we got the light, the stand, what else do we need? We need some sort of diffusion. So this can either be one of those 5-in-1 reflectors I mentioned earlier, but honestly, the best thing you can get to start out is one of these huge shoot-through umbrellas. These are super cheap and some of the best diffusion out there, and you don't really need anything fancy here. Now, there's one downside to using studio lighting, and that's the learning curve. It's a little harder to master studio lighting versus natural lighting, but I've got videos on my page you can watch, and there are other great YouTubers who teach this stuff as well. And honestly, the more you practice, the better you will get. I promised you two things at the end of this video, those two photos at the start and how we can actually achieve that natural light look by using studio lighting. Let's look at these two photos. On the left side here, we've got photo A. Now, photo A, believe it or not, was shot using studio lighting. It's got that same natural lighting look as photo B does. So how did I achieve this look using an artificial light source? Well, it all comes down to diffusion. When we shoot with a window, we have a huge diffusion source here. This is what gives us that natural light look a lot of photographers are after. At the end of the day, this is just a physics problem, and we can solve for that. Now, I'm not gonna bore you with what I learned in college right now, but all we really need to do is increase the size of our diffusion so that our studio lighting resembles natural light. When we're choosing a diffuser, I recommend going big. You wanna go at least 40 inches, and that will provide you with amazing diffusion for your products. That shoot-through umbrella I mentioned earlier should be at least 40+ inches so that you get that beautiful diffused light. All the gear I've mentioned today is linked down below. There's a budget list and a more premium list as well. And for those photographers out there trying to land their first 5 paying clients, remember, I've got that free workshop for you in the description. Join those other 2,000 plus photographers who've already gone through that training. My name is Chris Pieta. There are dozens more product photography guides on my channel that you should check out, and I will see you next week.